I want to let people know who you are. So if you don't mind sharing your name and what is your intersection in the games industry.
Of course, yeah. So my name's Graham Reid, also known as Graham of Legend, and I am a Jamaican indie game developer based in New York.
Word,
Just
word.
working by myself. It's rough in the streets, but it's my passion. It's what I do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's about that passion that I think there's a resonance for. You know, why we keep mingling with each other and having conversations and just wanting to learn from each other. I
Right.
the stuff that you do inspires me. There's this mutual inspiration that's being had, and I think propelling each other is what has made things really powerful. I'm curious
Yeah, for sure.
for everything that you're doing. What was that initial inspiration for you to want to pursue a career in in the games industry?
I mean, honestly, it's just the fact that it was on the table, like it became an option. Because I grew up always playing games, loving games my whole life. If you ask any of my friends, they always know I'm the one who's playing games. And then it wasn't until college where it's funny. I went to a school called SCAD, and it has a game design course, but I never thought to take game design. I don't know why I
Right.
didn't. It just didn't seem like it never seemed like something I would do. I don't
Yeah.
know. And at that time, so I was in college. Started it was from 2008 to 2012, and at that point, indies were like, they're just like Xbox Live Arcade, that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And it wasn't. I don't know. Unless I was making a Flash game, I didn't know how to program at that time either. So it just seemed unreachable to me. But then one day, some other Jamaican friends of mine, a guy named Robert Morrison, a guy named Audley Gordon, we did a game jam. And yeah, it was like, oh, these tools exist. We use an
Yeah.
engine called Corona, which used like the Lua, I think,
Yeah.
coding language. And then Unity was also around at a time from way back when, 2012, I guess, way back. That's
You're
actually a
right.
decade ago. Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that's a
Can you
long time
believe it?
ago. No, I cannot.
If we could pull up the Unity interface from back in that time,
Uh-uh.
it would be wild. Yeah.
It's not as bad as the Blender interface from back
Oh,
then. So
yeah.
it's not as bad. Not as
Hmm.
bad. But yeah, so I'm here because it became an option. I was like, oh, I can do this now. YouTube has knowledge for decades,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's the reason I'm here now.
Yeah.
I have an art background, and to me, I love approaching games from that angle.
Yeah.
And notes I can make them interactive, like hell yeah,
Right. Right. It's a beautiful thing
nothing
to be
better.
able to carry over the style that you feel passionate about and bringing life to it. Um, and
Exactly, yeah.
speaking of bringing life to things, you're certainly in the midst of no, it's already out. Am I correct in understanding?
No,
Okay,
next
no,
month,
it's next month. Okay, yeah,
in
that's right. We're on
August,
the
yeah,
horizon. Yeah, so I won't take the wind out of
yeah.
your sails in sharing what that is. Would you care to illuminate? Yeah, what type of project, what type of game is on its way out, and just give a little bit of a highlight about it.
Of course, I have a game called Super Space Club. It's a dope, vibes-filled action arcade space shooter set in the most vibrant space you'll ever see, and it's coming out on August 4th on Xbox and Steam. And it's
Yes.
like has a to me is so the one thing I don't do any music or sound effects or anything, and that's easily my favorite part of the game. That's
Mm.
everybody who has played it and spoken about it. They say, "Yo, game is gorgeous, it's fun, whatever." But forget all that. The music is like that's it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that somehow between working with Fat Bar, there's the guys who are doing the soundtrack, and just me wanting to inject some of myself, my culture, like being black, being Jamaican, hip hop, reggae, all that stuff, infusing that into the game. We've collaborated in a way that I think our soundtrack is. I've never heard anything like this in games before.
Yeah.
Like I've never heard a reggae, lo-fi, hip hop song
Good, good, good.
ever.
That's exactly the type of space that we need to occupy, like finding those spots and
Space, huh?
saying, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not your
That's
average
perfect.
space.
Right, right. Yeah, and it's because of things like that where we have it, people are going to play and engage with it and then feel inspiration in their own medium for wanting to bring
Yeah,
those tones together. And so,
I hope
yeah,
so. I
yeah,
really hope so.
Absolutely. I mean, let's imagine that Shinichiro Watanabe plays Super Space Club and then says, "I should probably reimagine Cowboy Bebop with more lo-fi reggae." Like, let's
Could you imagine?
that
Like,
would be that would be wild.
that'd
Yeah.
be sick.
Yes. Yes. Well, somebody's going to do it. It's inevitable at this point. We threw it out into the
I mean,
universe,
I should
so
do it. Damn it.
yeah, exactly.
The next space game is Cowboy Bebop, but Jamaica.
What we mean to say is Super Space Club is
Dancehall
actually
Bebop. Let's go.
yeah, there you go. It's a whole IP. So now we have the game, the anime, the manga. It's there you go.
It's
Um,
a dream. It's a dream.
yeah, yeah. What when it came to developing that title, or if it came to working on other projects, what has been some of the most challenging moments in your career, and how have you found success in overcoming those challenges?
What have been the most challenging moments in my career? Hmm. It's a great question to think about. I think that the fact that I can't think of one off the top just means that I've managed to overcome them all,
Yeah,
thankfully.
yeah.
um, Honestly, right now, the biggest challenge for me is as a solo indie, as someone who's not a programmer by like teaching or nature or anything, porting to console is really hard. That's a challenge I'm trying to overcome right this
Yes.
moment, like today.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
you're in the middle of the challenge, and let's say that again for the people in the
yeah.
back. Porting your game to console it's a lot of work. It is an immense amount of
It's
work.
not like you press a button, and I mean, like even putting it on like mobile, for example, you would think it's easy, and sometimes it is. You just press a button, but then there's so many back end things you have to do on the store. There are different certifications. Every console has their own certification that you have to go through. It's not
Yeah.
just sent to the ESRB and then they rate it and it's just done. Like, no, you have
Right.
to go through a lot of emails, a lot of back and forth. It's just so much work for
Yeah.
one person to do,
Right. And of course,
and it costs so much money if you want to pay someone to do it. It's like you can't win.
you come off of you've just come off of putting your build on Steam and getting all of the different images and
Steam
aspect
is so easy.
ratios
It's
correct.
ridiculous.
And yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like
So
porting
easy.
porting makes Steam look easy.
It's
And,
like chump change.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine you're going to feel pretty great being on the other side of getting things
I
ready
can't
and
wait.
and completely ported. Have there been any other
Yeah.
moments where you felt just a lot of joy or success bringing any sort of creative vision to life?
Yeah, all the time. There's so many things to pick from.
Yeah.
So like I guess one of the more standout moments to me is not from the game industry, I guess. Or no, I can give you two. So the first time I was showed anything at an E3/E3 adjacent event was at in 2019 during the I think it was back then it was a kind of funny showcase,
Hmm.
which partnered with like the mix,
Yeah.
and it was kind of surreal to me because like not grew up, but I guess from like high school days I'd watch different podcasts on IG and hearing them all talk about that stuff. Then some of those guys left to make kind of funny, um, and then also I've been watching E3 since even before that, and to see my work at like a E3 stage and then read the comments and people are hyped for it and everything, and then getting to go to LA to then showcase the game during the mix and have people play it. It was like full. I was filled with joy, and just seeing people
Hmm.
actually enjoy the game and just pick up the controller and get it, from the jump.
Yeah.
That was probably a career high for me so far. And then outside of that, before I actually became a full time indie, I used to work at Snapchat,
Hmm.
and I think though it's kind of insane to look at numbers because some of the things I'd work on would get literally seen billions of times. Like
Yeah.
it's not even a real number at that point.
Yeah.
But then we'd always go on Twitter and see what people are saying about certain things, or just see people posting stuff, and just seeing people share the work
Hmm.
that I did, and like knowing that they're actually enjoying the things I put out there to that scale, like billions, is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's another outside career high. It's never like people. I mean, you see people dunking on stuff all the time too, but just like seeing people actually enjoy and appreciate and like, oh, I feel seen. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
because I do a lot of things on representation, like making filters and lenses and stuff for different holidays and different cultures, different backgrounds. I remember I did something for Eid once,
Mm-hmm.
and people were going crazy, like, "Yo, the Eid is on the Snapchat map! Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Let's go!"
Yeah.
And you don't really say that because everything is sadly it's a very not just I wouldn't even say white focus, but it's very American focus. So you
Mm-hmm.
don't see a lot of cultures in tech represented outside of that until like years later when people shout enough to get
Right.
representation.
Right. Right.
So it was nice that I could be helpful to uplift other voices and just make cool things for people to enjoy.
Right.
I mean, that's what we do, right? That's our whole jobs as game developers. Just make things that people will enjoy, that will move them to feel different emotions,
Yeah.
just feel seen. Yeah.
Absolutely. I have, but my main question, thinking about that experience of having your game out there and people are connecting to it, normally this is an experience that we go through where we see titles that feel maybe in some ways unattainable as far as maybe production scale. When we see like Final Fantasy 16 come out and we marvel
Yeah.
at its fidelity, or we see any other title at that budget. But
Mhm.
your title is still being seen and it's still resonating with people at a similar
Shocking. I
capacity.
don't know how.
Yeah,
I don't
and
understand how.
what what sort of thoughts go through your mind? You express joy, but what do you think about when your game is resonating with others the way that a title might resonate with you when you see that trailer and you think, "Wow, that looks amazing. I can't wait to play that."
What am I thinking when I see that happening for other people?
When people are
Like, yeah,
reacting
I'm
to
doing
your
the
game
thing.
that way. Yeah.
And it feels like yes, I'm doing something good. Like I'm sure a lot of people go through like imposter syndrome. Like whenever I see that happen, it's like, oh yeah, it's not that bad after all. Like people are actually liking what I'm putting out. I need to get out of my head. And,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it feels good.
Good.
And it makes me want to make more things because I know the joy I get from playing games and how games
Yeah.
have helped me throughout my whole life in different situations in
Hmm.
life. And so being able to provide that for people is it feels like it's not charity, but it feels like I'm doing social good by
Right,
making
right, right,
games.
right, right.
Yeah.
Like kind of like passing the
So you never know.
baton. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What are some of those games that are on the list that have had a profound impact on you personally? The ones that have resonated with you.
There's so many ways to answer this question.
Yeah, I mean,
Because of course as
yeah, yeah.
as an artist I analyze things differently from just as a person playing games, and then of course you have to take into consideration like the time of life you're in,
Mm-hmm.
the different moods you're in. Like there's so many games.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know how to answer that, to be honest
Is
with you.
there okay? Is there? Let's say top three for any particular reason that it's had impact, whether emotional or artistic. What might be on that list?
All right, I mean, I'll start with Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. That was the first game that I played where it felt like a big open world that I could explore and had
Mm-hmm.
secrets, and it had like I was also I don't know like 5 or 6 or something when I played that game. So
Right.
imagine playing something of that scale at that time that was like next level,
Yeah.
and with the imagination of a child like that blew my mind. It was like I felt like I was transported to a whole new world, just exploring this little town, and then you go to the dark world. It's crazy.
Yeah.
um, there's that, and then there are things like games like The Sims, like those kind of experiences. The Sims and Animal Crossing I put into one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably around the similar time I played them too. I can't remember, but just those games where you can really express your, and of course those games I played before I even thought of game development as anything that I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And so games that allowed me to express my creativity, even Little Big Plan, like stuff like that really stood out to me. It made me, I spent hours upon hours just making things in
Mm-hmm.
The Sims, just building houses, putting the cheat codes so I could build the most extravagant architecture,
Yeah.
like doing all that kind of stuff. Um, and then I guess games like like The Witcher 3 and like Breath of the Wild, like that kind of stuff, where
Wow.
even like
Yeah.
Fallout, where you truly can just get lost and explore. And I
Hmm.
mean, I love the narrative of those games, but for me, it's about the exploration and you just being able to essentially tell your own stories almost, or
Yeah.
discover like the environmental storytelling, that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, those things just kind of make me, I don't say feel good. They stimulate my mind a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It. I have no doubts that it's validating to know, from anybody who gets to play Super Space Club or thinks about the other things that you intend to work on, that the magic that is felt within the games that inspire you is felt across the world and across many other players, that just as individuals we all feel the impacts of those types of experiences equally and interpret them. It's how we interpret them where we draw or create new light or new interpretations. um,
Mm.
I'm curious when it comes to, I know we're already on the horizon of Super Space Club, and I'm not trying to put you in the position of, being like, all right, what do you have to make next? But I'm curious, are there any other, is there other goals, other games, other experiences that still keep you coasting towards that North Star, that distant planet to keep the space analogies going for our conversation?
Of course, yeah. Um, I think I'm blessed that I have found a passion in game development and game design. Yeah, because a lot of people, I feel like they don't, they live their whole life and sadly never find that thing that truly makes them just feel like they have a sense of purpose, you know. And I feel like for
Hmm.
me, that's making games, making interactive experience for people. And so yeah, I have dozens of ideas I want to make.
Good.
I think the problem I should say is like doing it full time as a career, you then have to also think what will make me money.
Hmm.
And so the next game, I need to find a balance of what will actually sell enough to keep me going,
Hmm.
and also what do I want to make. Because I'm sure I could figure out the best game to make that'll make the most money, but I probably will hate myself for sitting down and making it if I don't
Hmm.
enjoy making it, you know?
Right.
And then I could make the thing I want to make the most, which I don't really know what that is at this point, but I could just make like a platform of argument's sake.
Hmm.
But those don't really sell well on Steam because there's just
Right.
so many of them.
Right.
And so yeah, just find that balance of what will help my career and then also just fuel my creativity, my passion, my enjoyment,
Hmm. Yeah.
and what people want actually want to play.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a delicate balance. We um almost in, maybe not grass is greener, but looking at the neighbor's yard of other games that are being developed and the ones that are resonating on Twitch or social media, we are constantly speculating at what is it about that experience that connected with players, and how do we ensure that we
Hmm.
are pushing those opportunities forward. It's a lot to consider, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand. Yeah, I understand where you feel pressed to weigh out those decisions before just even having the space to authentically create whatever you want.
right. Because games take
Um,
so long to make. Like even if you made like a small, I don't know, like a small experience, that's like still months, you know.
yeah,
Like if you want to get to a certain level of quality and polish, that's still months. Like 3 months you're
right.
spending on a game versus. So I also just love to make art, just art in general, like illustrations and that kind of stuff, or just play around with 3D.
Yeah,
And you can crank out work in a day, like,
right,
and not
right.
even not even crunching either. You can spend like 2 hours and make something beautiful, and the next day you can do the same thing over and over, and it's like the output is so much different. Whereas games, depending on the scale of games you make, you only have a limited amount of games in you, you know.
Hmm.
And so that's also a big factor in what am I going to make next, because I have 100 ideas, can't make 100 games.
That's
At
a
least not
fact.
by myself. I could dip my toes in 100 games, sure, but
Yeah,
by myself I can't make 100 games.
yeah, yeah. That's really well said. Um, I have one last question, and it's more of an anecdote
Mhm.
to, cutting into all the life questions and experiences, and that is, if there was any food from any video game that you could have right now, what would it be?
Oh, any food from any video game. I don't even know. I'm trying to think of what's good video game food.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, the first thing that popped into my head was the durian. I pronounce that right, durian,
Yeah.
in Breath of the Wild.
Okay. Yeah.
But the main reason, not because of the taste or anything, but because it gave you all the extra hearts.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so I feel like I would want that just to have me feeling energized for
Yeah.
this release of this game.
Yeah.
That's the main reason.
Yeah, the sustenance, the constitution that
Yeah.
it's going to bring. That's a good one. Yeah, you know, I might be wrong about this, but in reality, don't durians, do they have like a pretty pronounced smell? Not that they smell bad, but they
I've
smell
heard that
pretty
it's like a
distinct.
very strong, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
pungent. Yeah,
So I
I've
mean,
heard that.
Link is just putting them back like it's no problem. I mean, and
Yeah,
I
just
think
cover your
that
nose, you
you're right.
know.
I think the scale of the fruit in that game too, fruit and veggies, is also something to be
It's
admired.
huge.
So yeah,
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, but what are some good answers you've heard? 'Cause I can't even think of other outside of like street food, like food literally on the street in
Yeah.
all those like old arcade games. What other
Uh,
food is there in games?
I've gotten Okami, the peaches from Okami,
Never
and
played. Sadly, never played Okami. It's a
it's
big miss for me.
it's a beautiful game. And
Yeah.
then I think what was the other one? Oh no, I already forgot. Yeah, the
Just give me
peaches
some
one.
mangoes from Animal Crossing. They're always
Yeah,
fresh. Give me one of those.
that too. That's always good. For me, it's probably any food that is at a ridiculous, like an inhuman scale, and then really brightly colored. Those types of things are probably what's most attractive to me. So yeah, the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom food certainly fall in there. Any of the food from games like Overcooked, that sort of stuff
Oh,
makes a lot
overcooked.
of sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see it, and it's just huge, and they're like, I want to chop it all up in 5 seconds, like it's no problem. Like
Yep.
that's gonna take an hour at least.
Just chuck it across the room.
Yeah, all of its parts stay together, and yeah,
Yeah.
no, no, I really appreciate you sharing your time with me, Graham, and
Of
wanting
course.
to dig a bit into your background as a developer, and some of the story behind what gets you doing what you're doing. Where can folks keep up with Super Space Club and any other works to come after that?
So you can keep up with Super Space Club. You go to superspaceclub.com and you can see all the information there. Click the wishes button, please. It helps a lot. And then with me, just search Grandma Legend anywhere. If you're on TikTok, go up here, Grandma Legend. If you're on YouTube, also go up there, Grandma Legend. Like, yeah, there's Grandma Legend everywhere on Threads, on Twitter, on Instagram,
That's
everywhere.
right. That's
Grandma
right.
Legend.
The newly announced Threads.
The newly announced Threads, yeah.
Word. Well, thank you so
Blue
much, Graham.
Sky, all of them.
Blue Sky. Yeah, Mastodon. Like, yeah. There's
Yeah,
so
I'm
many.
there.
There's so many. Um,
It's a whole other conversation. There's too many things
yeah.
that we all have to keep up with.
We'll dig into it. Well, thank you again,
Yeah,
and I'll talk
of
to you again
course.
soon.